excited about this. How many of you are familiar with a Batman movie? Any of you out there? So if you're a fan of Batman, this is probably something you'd be interested in as well. So, as I always have to do, please make sure not to record any footage. Again, this is really just kind of for you guys, and we want to make sure that we want to keep bringing it back for you. So with that, I think it is now time to get started. So it is my pleasure to introduce the moderator for the Penguin panel, Mr. Josh Horowitz.
Guys, hi Hall H. How's it going, everybody? Alright, Saturday afternoon at Comic-Con. This is when it gets serious. You guys are the real ones. Yes, you are in for a treat today. My name is Josh Horowitz. Yes, I host a podcast called Happy, Sad, Confused, but today it is my honor to help introduce you to the world of the Penguin. Are you guys ready for this? So if you're like me, you obviously love the world of the Batman as created by the great Matt Reeves. Of course you do. And if you're like me, you were blown away by what Mr. Colin Farrell did. Yes! With this iconic character, and maybe you wanted more. Well, the good news is you're getting a lot more. You're getting an 8-part limited series for HBO called The Penguin. I've gotten a peek at this. It's freaking awesome, guys. You guys are in for a really special treat today because we have some footage to maybe show you, and we have an amazing panel. So without any further ado, please give a warm Hall H welcome to our panelists. First up is showrunner and executive producer Lauren LaFranc, everybody. Give it up. Please give a warm welcome to executive producer Dylan Clark, everybody. We need some amazing cast members here. Renzi Felice, join us please. Renzi, come on out. You are going to be blown away by the wonderful Kristen Milioti. Kristen, come on out. This man is a genius. Prosthetic makeup designer Mike Marino is here. And of course, we have to have the executive producer, the man who created this amazing new universe with the Batman. It's Matt Reeves, everybody.
Yeah.
And you know what? We're talking about the Penguin. Should we see the Penguin joining us from Macau? It's Colin Farrell, everybody. Come on. Welcome, guys. Colin, it's good to see you, man. I thought we agreed you'd be in full Penguin makeup today. What happened? Did you not get the memo?
I was going to say, it's good to see me too. I can't see anything else.
There's no one here, Colin.
There you are. Okay, man. Yeah, no, stuck in Macau working. Well, working. I use the term loosely, of course.
We're thrilled to have you. 6,000 friends in Hall H. Say hello, Colin.
I wish I was there with the crew, with my peeps, my penguin peeps.
So Matt, I do want to begin with you. Take us back to the creation of your wonderful film, The Batman, and maybe when it kicked in that there was more to be mined with this remarkable character.
Well, you know, I mean, the thing about it is that when I was doing when we were writing the script was getting so long that I had this thought that it'd be really cool to do. First of all, I said literally to the head of DC at the time, hey, you know, this would be a really good, maybe instead of, because the script's so long, we could do like a limited series. And he goes, we have nothing to do with HBO, which they didn't at this point. But now they do. And so as we were moving forward, one of the things that I always thought was, God, it'd be really cool to do a show with these characters and find a way, it's the thing we're calling the Batman epic crime saga. And so as we were sort of working on it, you know, when I first met Colin, we actually, here's the weird thing. Seeing you still, every time I see you, I'm like, that's what you look like? It's just so weird, man. Because honestly, I've seen Colin probably in person out of makeup 2-3 times? Yeah, exactly. But I've seen him many, many times, so it's very strange. But as we were doing it, originally met in the hotel, at the Soho Hotel, and you said to me, you really like the script, you're like, I'm not sure, I don't know if I can play this character because I was, I'm not sure. I'm just not sure. I was like, oh man, I really would love you to do it. And you actually said, you goes, well, maybe you should play the character. And I was like, I don't think I should play the character. You did. You said that to me. You did. Yeah. And so then, but then we started talking about it, and we started talking about what he could look like, what it would be, and we started talking to this man, and it started becoming this incredible thing where it was like, well, I thought, because you are you, and you're a very pleasing looking gentleman. And so I thought there's a telltale version of the character, right? God. Anyway, there's a telltale version of the character, the telltale video game. And really, we talked about kind of John Cazale and that kind of stuff. And then Mike talked to you, talked to me, we talked about a bunch of different things. And all of a sudden, Mike came in with this sculpture. And it was like the craziest thing ever. And I was like, wait a minute, you can't do that. Because it's got to be, they're going to say that's a guy in makeup. That's not going to work. And then he promised me, he said, no man, the skin is so soft. And I was like, okay. And then,
and hot.
What's that? And then you went back and you started putting the makeup on and testing it. And I was in London and you sent me a video of you in partial makeup. And literally it went from, I was like, oh my God, who is that? And that's the person that now I know actually to a certain degree, in a certain way, even though the essence is you, that I know more than I know you as I've seen you right now. And what you said to me then was, can we write more scenes? Can we do more stuff? And I was like, oh yeah, well, And the thing that I'd always said to you was that I really wanted, Penguin in the movie was kind of a red herring. He was this guy who was sort of like, it seems like he must be the guy who's the informant. That's what this is all about. And he's such a big marquee character that certainly the bad guy in this thing must fully be the Penguin. And then it turns out that that's not the case. And so what I had always thought would be a great thing to do, and what we were planning to do is for the next movie, we were going to take his character and we were going to make that kind of step, because the whole thing, the first movie, as you know, ends where there's like a power vacuum in Gotham. And so the whole idea is, here's this guy, totally underestimated, nobody really sort of thinks that he can do it, but meanwhile he has this fire inside of him. And so at that moment I thought, okay, we can do that at the beginning of that next movie, and that'll be part of that journey. And then Dylan and I were talking to, because as I said, I love the idea of finding a way to do shows within this world. And as that was happening, Casey Bloys and Sarah said to us, hey, listen, we really want a marquee character. And I was like, well, we were going to do this thing for like what happens in this kind of rise to power with the Penguin. And Casey was like, that's a show and we're doing it. And I was like, oh. And so that was literally how it happened. And then we met Lauren, and Lauren came to us and she gave us, because here's the thing, like when we were doing this, we were just finishing the movie. So like, Lauren, that was all happening while I was in post. It was during the pandemic, and Lauren came in and started talking about what it could be, and I said, listen, let me just keep showing you little bits of the movie. So Lauren is the first person really that I shared any of the movie with that was outside of our intimate group, and she was seeing scenes. She saw the first 40 minutes. She was seeing you before you saw you, and it was just one of those things where as that started going, she was like, well, I think it could be this, and what she pitched was like she took the character that you created in that world and said, let's go so deep into this thing with not only the rise to power, but also, and this is the great thing about long form, and then I'll shut up, which is that you can spend time to do something you can't do in a movie, which is to really look under a microscope. And what Lauren did in writing that, and with what you did and the cast did, I think is just truly beautiful, which is why I'm so excited that we're here today. I'm going to shut up now, but that's how it started.
Yeah, everything Matt said, I remember we met in the Soho Hotel in London and I wasn't sure about it. I literally just didn't, the scenes were so well crafted, but there was 5 or 6 of them and I just didn't get what I could do with it or for the film. And it wasn't until I still wanted to work with Matt and I grew up watching Burgess Meredith as the Penguin in the TV show with Adam West. And Tim Burton's, Danny DeVito's Penguin, Tim Burton's world that he created before Chris Nolan's iteration of Gotham, and then onto Matt's. So the lore of this world held such a kind of attraction to me, and I just was really humbled and really excited that I could be in the world of Gotham, and the idea of playing the Penguin. So even if I kind of hedged my bets and I said, fuck it, I'll just, sorry. It's an amazing opportunity. It's an amazing amazing opportunity, and I said, I'm in. And then I met Matt, you know, we met to talk when we were about 3 or 4 weeks from shooting. And, or no, it was longer than that, obviously, because we had to do a camera test. But I remember being in Matt's office in London, that's right, before I went back to LA and then did the first makeup test with Mike. And I was in Matt's office, and Matt said, have you seen what you're going to look like? And I said, what do you mean what I'm going to look like? He said, have you been talking to Mike Marino? I said, yeah, we've been sending pictures back and forth and ideas. And Matt had a computer like I have in this hotel room, and he went, you haven't seen it yet? And I went, no. And he looked over at me and went, come here. And I saw the bust, just the head and the shoulders of what Mike had sculpted. And I instantly just had a sense of character, place, history, violence, pain. There was so much that was etched on the face of the character that I just, it did me such a solid. And then we did the first makeup test. It was one of the best days. I mean, I've had so many extraordinary days as an actor, and I've been fortunate to be in parts of the world that I've never been in and meet people that I would never have met and be part of bringing stories to life that I, of course, would never have been part of if I wasn't an actor. But it was one of the best days I've ever had in 25 years of an actor. We went into a sound stage in Warner Brothers lot, and even at 48, I still get giddy when I go onto a studio lot. So we went into a big sound stage and we took 7 hours, and Mike was there, and another Mike, Fontaine, and there was somebody that was taking care of the eyebrows, and there was somebody that was at last, and there was somebody that was taking care of thank you, Hall. There was somebody that was taking care of the art, was taking care of the teeth. There was somebody there that was doing the bodysuit, and we were all in this studio for 8 hours, and that was the video footage that I just took. Mike Marino got his phone out and asked me a few questions, and impromptu. I had done about 2 months of dialect work before that, and it just came alive. So it was extraordinary, but then Lauren pitched what it was going to be, so that was for the film, that was the start of the process for the film, for the Batman film. But then I was doing the Banshees of Inisherin in the west of Ireland. Go for my filmography, what else can I do? But then I was doing Banshees, and Dylan and Matt said to me, we've hired Lauren LeFranc, and she wants to pitch you her idea for the show. And I remember going upstairs, and Barry was downstairs stealing my crunchy nut cornflakes as he did. We were sharing a house at the time, Barry Keoghan, and I went upstairs. We had a Zoom, myself, Matt, Dylan, and Lauren, and she just for 20 minutes spoke about this life and about how broken it was and about the depth of ambition and greed and the consequences of certain events that took place in Oz's childhood. She talked about the relationship between Oz and his mother, which features heavily. Talked about, obviously, Renzi's character and Chris. Hey, guy. Hey, Renzi. Hey, Chris.
Hi.
Hey, guys. But she just laid it all out, and I was just baffled. Look, I was just baffled by how brilliant it was, and how complicated it was, and how dark and painful it was, and also funny at turns. And it really was something that I was chomping at the bit to get back to. And we had a blast doing it. I mean, it's hard. Lauren, you're twisted. You're brilliant. Yeah, you're a brilliant, bright, twisted, incredible writer. She did an amazing job. And look, this all came from Matt's whole creation of this universe that he spoke about. You know, it obviously leans into the genesis of this whole world of Gotham. And it pays homage in its own very subtle ways to all the iterations that came before. But he's created this world that allows all these characters, and certainly even in the 6 scenes that he gave me in Batman, allowed his interest to be piqued enough, and Dylan's and Lauren's, and hopefully the audiences to be piqued enough to give this character 8 hours of television, you know, or streaming, or whatever the hell we're calling it these days. There's no difference when you're shooting it, you know. It's just it was a long shoot, but it was. Yeah, he's just a tasty character. He's a disaster. Like he's.
Should we give them a little taste of the character?
Square.
Yes.
I do have some good news. Beyond that trailer, you want a release date? You want to know when you're going to be able to see this? September 19th. Mark your calendars. Thank you. Lauren, I'm going to ask ask you now, obviously as the showrunner of this, you inherit this amazing world that Matt puts on screen. You inherit this amazing lineage in the comics. What were your creative touchstones? What was your inspiration for this limited series?
So official now. Well, it was really exciting to get to be one of the first people to see parts of the Batman early on, and I was talking to Matt backstage about how we were still in COVID, so I had a mask and I went to Warner Brothers and I sat by myself. It was the first time I was in a theater, and I was by myself watching it and getting to see what Colin was doing, and it was pretty incredible. You know, for me, I love research as a writer. It's kind of my favorite part in a way, and I wanted to do justice to what the world was that Matt created. And I thought Oz was this wild man, charming, problematic, interesting, weird, dark soul that I wanted to dig into. And so for me, I have to come at something from a personal place of trying to figure out how I can put myself in it, even though I hope we don't have a lot in common. And so I actually mirrored him in my mind off this man, Buddy Cianci. I went to college in Providence, Rhode Island, and he was the mayor there for 21 years, like longest serving mayor, I think, still in the United States. And super corrupt, just was in with the mob, but like really charming. And people loved him, and he lined his own pockets, but he also helped people, and he helped the community. And that to me felt like the root of who Oz is. And that for me helped me find what he wanted, which is to be loved and revered by the masses, but by more than anyone, by his mother. And then I thought about what his greatest fears might be. I thought that his greatest fear might be that love is transactional, and yet every decision he makes is based on that concept. He can't help it. And that kind of unlocked a lot of things for me, and then I started to think about the greater world. You know, his voice was an important aspect to me, and I wanted to make sure. I mean, when Colin comes into the movie, it's just, there's a spark that happens, and he just made me laugh instantly, and his comedic timing is so exceptional. I mean, obviously, Colin, you're very talented, you know. But come on. But his comedy chops are really great, and I wanted to embrace that, and I think it was very important for me that you warmed to him in the beginning. And it's easy to do with what Colin was already doing. So, yeah, and then I just wanted to expand the world, and I thought about the people that he would be in the world with, and I thought about the kid I named Victor. I mean, Renz is a grown man, but he's a kid, sort of, in the show. And then I thought about Sophia Falcone, and I thought she should be in this show, but a different interpretation of her, so you guys got a glimpse in the trailer that she's not the Sophia Falcone you might be used to in the comics. And then Kristen brought her to life in this really exceptional way, and our entire cast is so incredible. So it's been a really great honor. It's been really very exciting. I'm excited for you guys to see the show.
So, when last we saw Gotham at the end of the Batman, it was not doing so well, Dylan. What's the Gotham we see? This takes place, as I understand it, just a week later. We have the events.
Wow. I'm going to do, just because Matt talked so long, I'm going to do a version of, no, I'm just sorry. I'm taking on you. It's a roundabout way, but I also wanted to say something that happened on the set with Colin. The great pleasure of making a Batman movie with Warner Brothers, which is the storied legacy studio, and DC, of course, is that they also have HBO and Max, which is the best premium television in the business. So while we're focused on doing the epic crime saga that features our Batman character in the movies, we have this opportunity to do great work with great people that are other characters that build our world out. And we can get people like Colin to work there because HBO is just unbelievably great. So at one point on set, Colin did say to me, he doesn't know all the machinations behind the thing, but he says to me he's a little bit pissed off because he only ever in 4 scenes, and we cut one of them. So he said, you know, I like this character, I'd be willing to do more, and I have some thoughts. And so that was great because, as you knew, we loved you too, and we wanted to see more of you. So we we had this opportunity to do this great series, and as you realized, at the end of the movie, as you asked, Josh, sorry, not realized, but asked, the catastrophic events that end our movie also is a great opportunity to start a show, not just the physical decline of the place, but the morally corrupt and morally complicated characters that exist in this world, and headlined by, of course, Oz and Colin, but also these guys. And there's also Michael Zegan and Michael Kelly. There's a lot, and Didi's not here. We
Oh
wish
my
we had
God,
the entire
Didi in this
cast.
show.
We have a great group of actors that play these amazing characters. And because we have HBO and all these great characters, we can actually, and Matt did such a beautiful job making this movie, you have your pick at who you could get to write and be the showrunner of it. And we read Lauren, and she was just perfectly suited to do this thing. She writes from the inside out. She's a psychologically wounded, troubled child, just like Colin. I knew they would get on like brother and sister. And she just was interested in the emotional journey of the characters, not all of the stuff, because the great things that happen in the comic are written because of the love of the characters, and that's what she did. So Gotham, said more simply, Josh, Gotham is not a great place right now. It's a ripe arena for unbelievably good drama.
Yeah. Well, I've discovered also the prerequisite for this show is psychologically troubled actors and
Come on in.
Except
Got some problems.
for Renzi. Renzi's got his shit together.
Let's talk to some of your amazing ensemble. So some of these characters are out of the comics, and some inspiration, some are new. Kristen, Sophia does have a corollary in the comics, a rich history. What do you draw upon? Is that useful? What's your inspirations for your characterization of Sophia here?
I mean, this is such like a boring actor answer to be like, well, it all starts with the script, but it does. But I mean, like, it does. And I really, I've watched the movie so many times, and then I really actually, I dove into the lore a little bit, but then I sort of stayed away and just really wanted to exist in the world that Matt and Lauren, created. And I'm like so boring.
She does look like a fun character to play. From the limited...
I had the friggin' time of my life. And I'm only saying friggin' because I see there's a baby right there. And,
Sorry, Mom.
What'd you say?
Colin will not stand for profanity.
Yeah, no, I had truly the time of my life, like the things that I dreamed of and like made up in my backyard as a kid that I would like, all the things you do, and I got to do, and I like had, just the most incredible time. I was stoked.
We talked about that.
Yeah, we did.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
We're just on this, we were just talking about, she was telling me about tell me what you used to play when you were a kid, and you used to imagine this, literally the world of Gotham, and how you'd inhabit.
Yeah.
Were you on the side of good or evil?
I was always on the side of evil, and I would ride my bike all around and pretend that I was like the Riddler's daughter who had to like take over his empire, which isn't like even in the canon. And like I would just ride around in circles, being like, what? Like evilly laughing and like pretending to blow things up, and
It's that psychological trauma. When Kristen walked in, we were like, oh, there it is. Right?
Yeah.
She's in the game.
Yeah.
Who is the hero of this story? Can we call Oz a hero? Is Sophia the hero of her own story? Who are we meant to root for here?
I'm not saying that.
I don't
Heroes?
think we have heroes in
No.
definitively. I think we've got complicated people.
These
And
are
I think
messed up people, right?
Yeah, depending on who you ask, everyone's the hero of their own story.
I'll say what I think, though, is that the characters do unspeakable things, but the show finds empathy for them, and these actors find empathy for them, meaning it's about understanding how that kind of, the show, it gets dark. It's quite dark, but it doesn't do it in some kind of gratuitous way. It's an attempt to really look at where the darkness comes from. For me, I think that's one of the opportunities about doing a show like this, where you have these kind of iconic characters and then to be able to delve into them, and what Lauren and the actors did to dig into what that is, I think that's one of the things that's really special about the show. We take the characters super seriously. We know you guys do, and I think it's really, in a way, one of the things that I remember somebody saying to me, but it's like, we're custodians, right? Somebody's gonna come, they're gonna do another Penguin thing, they're gonna do another Batman thing. This is our moment as custodians to try and say something about our world and about these characters that is personal to us, that we hope relates to you, and I think that that's what the actors and Lauren did so beautifully, is that they're not heroes, they're like us, but they do things that, I think part of the fun of watching something like this is they're gonna do some things that I hope none of you do, but they are dark things, and that's part of, I think, watching a show, in a way, the way that, like HBO, like The Sopranos, being able, there's that moment of wish fulfillment of just saying, God, what I'd love to do is just kill that guy, and you go, oh, this guy did, and that's kind of one of the things about the show, I think that's special.
In the same vein, too, of like, they are just like us, the Penguin, he's just like us. There is comedy and there's a different mix of tones, because I think in your darkest hour, some things are actually very funny, or you need to laugh. So we've tried to mix that up too, and again, we're following Oz, and he's very unpredictable. I always say that the Batman's up high looking down on Gotham, and Oz is in the streets, he's in the muck, he's in the grit and the grime. And so you're following just a different perspective. You're following this man. Broaden perspective, and you're following each of our characters in a different way, and you start to see everything through different lenses depending on who you're with for that episode or for those moments or those scenes.
And just, I'm looking at you, Colin, just watching your ability as an actor bring to life just how you find your behavior, how you most truthful actor. So it's just, he has to go through, Mike's sitting here though, when am I going to talk? I create. But watching you go through your process as an actor and finding that truth and saying those words, it's just, it's so entertaining, but it's also emotional, and it can get scary. And that's just because of you,
Honestly, thanks a million, man, for that, perhaps. What Marino did, and Mike is going to talk now, I assume, but just to be clear, because I know some people were saying, why didn't they just cast a bigger actor or someone that looks more like the thing? And to be honest, if I wasn't in the show, I might have been saying that kind of thing as well, right? But I'm in the show, so I know what the stages were, and as we spoke of earlier, I was cast already, so I was going to play even more like. And I didn't want to put on loads of weight, and Matt was like, I think he's bigger, and I was like, well, what about like having a thin penguin? And by the way, shout out to, I haven't seen the TV show Gotham, but Robin Lord Taylor, who I believe is extraordinary. I realised I mentioned Burgess, Meredith, and I mentioned Danny DeVito. I was going to start watching Gotham when I was getting ready for this. Burgess, Meredith, and Danny DeVito were already part of my timeline as a human being. And then I was going to watch Gotham, and I thought, no, I better not. I've heard Robin Lord Taylor is brilliant. I don't want to be taking ideas or trying to do something different consciously, so I haven't seen it, but I heard he's brilliant. Anyway, I'm part of that lineage of which Robin is part of. But I was cast, and then it was Marino that had this idea. I mean, Matt wanted the character to look a certain way, and there was pictures going back and forth. But the really cool thing is practical makeup, practical effects are dying art in cinema, right? AI is coming in, special effects are what they are now. They're cheaper to do in some ways. For me, if you look at a film like The Thing, it is so visceral. John Carpenter's Thing, the experience is so visceral. You know what's happening is taking place in a real space, and it's being photographed, and it's what they call in film, it's happening in camera, it's happening before the lens. So it wasn't a case of the character was going to be this big guy and bald and have a bit of a hook nose and some pockmarked skin, and then I was cast. That would have been a bit ridiculous. I still would have been grateful and gone for it. But I was already hired, and then Marino, the genius that he is, came in and he created this thing. So it was kind of like his art and Matt's art and Lauren's art and Dylan's art and all of us came together to create this character. But anyway, over to you, Mike. That was the process. So sorry if I took a job from someone who looked closer like the Penguin. But the beaten point of Mike's brilliance came in and did me a solid. Dylan, in answer to what you were saying, even though you didn't ask me a question, like. I've said before that I've never felt, and I mean this, I've never felt such lack of total ownership over a character that I've played, and I'm really grateful for that lack of ownership, because the other, half, not excluding, of course, Lauren's incredible writing and Matt's work and Dylan's and everyone's involved, but I share this character 50-50. I may be on a day where I'm a bit needy, will take 41% of it, but 49 goes to Mike, but no, it's 50-50 really to Marino and myself. It was really, and the team, that extraordinary team that he works with as well, makeup team that he works with. But it's a dying art, and it was brilliant to be able to be part of that and be hidden. Like I was hidden, I was gone as soon as that suit went on. 3 hours of makeup in the morning, I was gone, and it was so much fun to inhabit, and it just did me such a favor. It was such an honor. Anyway, over to you, Mike.
Create a real, authentic character. A lot of the time we're doing, some injury or some kind of, old age makeup or something like that, where it's hard reality. And as real as Oz is, it is within, a comical world, a fantasy world. And Matt's script in the film was pretty hard reality, but at the same time, there is a guy in a bat suit flying around. It's like, real world. So my inspiration for doing this was, I grew up in New York, and I really have seen a lot of real interesting characters, and a lot of people you see in New York, subways, just walking around. You never see those kinds of people on film. You never see them on TV. You never see what real people look like. So Oz really is like, someone who never got to be seen. His personality is wanting. It's wanting to be something more than he is. And I've worked with Colin before in the past, maybe 10, 15 years ago. So I always thought he had the best face for makeup. He's got a small nose. He's got a good head.
He's a blank slate.
Yes. Yeah. No, but it's really something you dream about working on. So I was able to add bits and pieces to his face, the psychology of where Matt wanted to be with. And one of your inspirations was Fredo from The Godfather, John Cazale.
And one was Harvey Weinstein.
There you go. So you have a quality. How do I bring that to life? How do I bring all of these elements? And being a penguin, my mind is going into a psychological bird aspect. Okay, there's some bird element here. How do I make him look like he has a beak? So one side of his face is fairly normal, and the other side of his face, almost like split personality. You have this war bird. So I looked at injured birds and older grizzled penguins and these chipped beaks and all this stuff. So on one side of his face, in silhouette, you have this curved, scarred face to the side, but if you line it up with a photo of a bird, it mimics the mouth of a bird. So it's a beak. It's actually a beak on one side, and it's all shredded on one side, as if the character that he is got to fights, and he's been in some battles. And, Colin's charisma comes through all of that. So you essentially get this extremely charming gangster with a realistic face that fits within Matt's world in a comic book. It's a dream to do. It was really a dream to do. So this is every day going in. I think we did the makeup maybe 80 times. So Colin had to sit with us for hours, come in the morning, maybe 2, 3 in the morning, sit with us for 2, 3 hours while we made him this fake person.
You must really like each other a lot to spend that kind of quality time. Keep me back here.
I think
Earplugs, Josh. Earplugs.
I think he likes me. No, but really, Colin is really so authentic and such a great person in real life. That it takes the patience of saints to sit every day for almost 100 days. All these people gluing all this stuff to him, glued his hair down and taped him up. And he's wearing basically a big suit every day. So it's like torture in a sense. And then he has to work all day and film. So I can't give him enough credit. So, and I'm glad for Matt allowing us to do this.
I mean, honestly, you're an incredible artist. Like everything he said, if you can imagine that day that Colin's talking about, what I was showing him was a picture of a sculpture. That's what it was. And that sculpture is exactly what you see here. And all of the descriptions that he's saying about the beak, about the tearing, and all the stuff, which were, by the way, things that were, I think, primal things that influenced, in a way, even imperceptibly, the way that I think Colin played it. Meaning, like, the evidence of his life was there on his face. Like, that was all there in a sculpture. Like, you're an amazing artist. So it's very, very special. I'm going to just say, though, I don't know what the percentages are, but Colin, you are a beautiful artist and a force of nature. And honestly, watching the show, you're fucking amazing.
I realize we talked about Renzi and complimented you, but we want to hear from Renzi. Okay, welcome to this amazing world, man. This is a big moment. Congratulations. So Victor is a new character.
Yeah.
Talk to us, can you tease us a little bit about how Victor and Oz's relationship plays out without ruining this wonderful limited series for everybody?
Yeah, that's the play out. I mean, it's a complicated one. I think complicated because it changes so much from the beginning and then, kind of what it turns into. But to begin with, I mean, Oz is this, like, kind of scary, big individual, especially, like, I think in Victor's eyes, and they kind of meet each other in a very interesting circumstance, and it changes Victor's life forever. He's introduced to opportunities that he never would have had. He's introduced to a life that he's never really seen before, and so at the beginning, it's kind of like it's a very, very different world for Victor that he's used to, that he's accustomed to. Just a 17-year-old kid who lives in Crown Point, and then all of a sudden his life is forever changed once he meets us.
How discombobulating is it? You're playing a scene with him, he's doing all the mannerisms, the voice, and then suddenly Colin's, I assume at some point breaks and speaks as Colin.
It's a weird one for sure. I think that, so I remember the first time that I met Colin, it was, not in Zoom when I met him in person. It was the camera test that we did when we first showed up in New York, and I was such a fan of the first movie, by the way. I haven't told you that in person yet, but I'm such a massive fan of the movie, and I was such a massive fan of what Colin did as Oz. And I just remember me and my friends would sit down, one of them actually in the audience right now, me and my friends would sit down and we would rewatch the intro scene to Oz when you first see him on the staircase, because I see him with the twins, and he has that whole monologue, which was, I thought it was just so cool the way he took his time with it, and I was so impressed by it. So I've seen it a million times, and then to see him walk into the room on the day of the camera test and look me in the eye and say my name, it was like the weirdest thing in the world. But I know it's this actor that I seriously admire and that I look up to, but it's not the face that I'm looking at. And nor is it the voice or any of it's, not even the body. Also felt bigger than what I would have imagined, taller. I was wondering if that, how tall, never mind. I just felt bigger than life, I think, and it was intimidating. And then I remember, I thought it was so cool. I was telling Mike backstage, I was like, it's kind of like a magic trick. I was looking at it up close and personal, and I was just trying to sneak glances so my brain could wrap my head around what's going on, that it's Colin, but it's also us. And I just found myself laughing for about an hour and a half, to myself quietly. Colin would say something in character, as Oz, and I would just kind of giggle and have a good time. And I realized that everyone on the set was kind of giggling, and then I started getting scared. I was like, I have to cry and stuff soon in front of this guy. I'm so, it's so cool to me that I'm not gonna be able to separate myself and actually do the job I was hired to do. So that became kind of scary, and then I kind of I figured it out. I got rid of that fear, but or that kind of joy. But yeah, it was not a thing at first. You get used to it once you're around Oz enough.
I remember during this camera test, Renzi came up to me, sidled up to me, and was like, "He's pretty scary." Pretty, and I'm like, yeah, you should use
bigger than life, and it's and yeah, at the beginning when you're up close and personal, you see all the scars that Mike put on, and the life that's behind it. It was kind of scary, and it's and he's looking at you, and he feels kind of big, and it's there was fear for sure, and that's kind of where you meet Victor and Oz. Is kind of in a sense of I don't want to give anything away about the show, but it's kind of it's a volatile relationship, I'd say, at the beginning.
Yeah.
lot. There's a walking on eggshells for sure.
I'm just going to chime in. There's a moment during the process where Lauren, Matt, and I are talking about which actors we want to portray these characters and go opposite Colin. And Colin is just such a beautiful just partner. And again, it's a rich tradition of actor, family, you know, that's the circus, and you're all in on this stuff. And we found Kristen, we just fell in love. Kristen was it. Like, she was our Sophia, but we wanted to see how Kristen and Oz Colin, and we flew out Kristen. Remember this, Kristen?
Yes, that's
And I just remember it was a big deal because Kristen Milioti is already a known thing, but we just wanted to see what this chemistry was like. And I remember being so excited, and Lauren was there, and Craig, our director, was there. And then Colin, you did the best thing. Do you remember this, Kristen? He walked up to you and said, "Hey, let's go outside and talk."
I do.
And they walked outside on the Warner Brothers lot and just had a little bit of a stroll and a chat, and then they came in and crushed the scene. And I just thought, oh my God, it's just, this guy is so good, but just the experience of seeing you connect to him and then be that character, that was cool.
No, thank you. Yeah.
We were sat in a closet together because we didn't want to interfere with your scene, so Dylan and I were sitting in a closet watching a monitor, watching Kristen and Colin just outside.
Yeah. Just quietly chatting. Yeah.
What,
It was,
what can we say about the relationship that we're going to see between Sophia and Oz in this series? Fair to say we're talking about volatility. Feels like...
Yeah, I would say volatility and Colin, jump in here. I was going to say historical, but I don't think that's the right word.
That's right.
Historical.
That's cool.
It's
we have a long history.
We have a long history, and I would say that it's a real I'm so nervous.
Me too. You must
Okay.
be.
It's a real power struggle. I would say. A real power struggle between the two of them.
Nice.
Right?
And they do. Yeah, no, dead right. Look, they have a shared history that goes way back. That's not only touched on but explored, I think, just to the right amount in the show. And when we meet them in the present tense, there might be a little bit of a flashback to give the audience an idea of what they meant to each other at a certain stage, or how they interacted, or what their dynamic was a few years hence from the beginning. But when they meet in the show, which is in the trailer as well, something happened between the two of them. Something happened that means that there's this instant kind of tension. And the two of them are incredibly wily. The two of them are incredibly smart. They've both been dragged up by the shoelaces from very different perspectives. But they both have to fight for everything that they have when we meet them. I mean, she was born, Sophia was born into wealth, and Oz was born into a great degree of poverty for sure. But they both share similar struggles. They kind of mirror each other in very interesting ways. And at a certain stage throughout the 8 hours, certain things happen that clearly say that even if they have a certain sense of kindred spirit, they are very much on opposite sides of a very real argument that's going to be very consequential for Gotham.
I can attest. I mean, in the first moments, there's an electricity between the two of you. I mean, as we've all talked about Colin's, we know what we're getting from Colin's performance as Oz, but Kristen matches what you're doing. It's pretty
Thank
awesome.
Extraordinary work with.
That's how I felt too. I could gush right now.
Because I have all the bells and whistles, right? I mean, honest to God, I'm not trying to say the right thing, but it's such a really powerful thing. Like Carl Jung would talk about mask work and stuff, to be so hidden, and the only thing that were mine were my hands, and everything else was just gone, was hidden. And then I had a dialect coach to work on the voice, and I had all these bells and whistles, that it wouldn't be the easiest thing. Like I remember saying to my sister even, I don't know if I'd like to do a scene against me in this shit, because it's hard, it's a lot, as Renzi was saying. And just Renzi and then Kristen came in, and she just made Sophia Falcone so rich and so deep and so tender and so scary and such a force of nature that we just danced together. Like Renzi and I, as Vic and Oz, we're like Stranger Things upside down version of Batman and Robin, And then, Sophia and me at a certain point, we are doing a dance with each other that was just on a razor's edge, and it was just brilliant.
I feel the same. I loved it, and it feels like madness in the best way, too. I think they like match each other in that way too, and it just was such a dream and a pleasure, like beyond.
Also, can I just say, I mean, obviously the film, The Batman, is gorgeous, just impeccably made as all of Matt's films are. And it's a high bar to replicate and then build upon. Lauren, can you talk a little bit about the world building and just sort of taking that inspiration and then, you know, bringing that kind of high level to, you know, cliche, it's not TV, it's HBO, but I mean, it's pretty freaking amazing to see.
I mean, well, we had amazing directors, so they really brought everything to life. Obviously, having an incredible cast like this makes it seem easy. Amazing cinematographers, just our production design, our costuming. I could talk for a long time about our crew because they also braved a strike or 2 strikes, and they're all so talented. You just get to go to work every day and work with like the most talented group of people who are so passionate and kind and creative, and it's everything that you can ask for. Yeah, I mean, it's over the course of 8 hours, so we see more of Gotham. We see it in the daytime. We kind of call it daytime noir, and that was a blessing, I think. It's the beauty of long form, as Matt was saying earlier. You just get to dig in more, and you get to see Gotham is its own character. And because we pick up a week after the flood from the film, it's devastated. And so it's an interesting character because Gotham is broken too, and all the people in our show are a little bit broken as well. And yeah, I think it was really just to make sure we could do right by the Gotham that Matt created and build upon it. And I think, and all the people at this table, and our actors and our amazing crew who aren't here with us, and our writers, we helped, we did the best we could, and we all worked together to try to just bring a different form of life in it and to see things, again, through different people's eyes than what you've seen in the film.
For you, Matt, I mean, you've established, this version of the Batman universe. What are you most excited for audiences to see in this 8-part limited series?
I mean, these guys. I mean, honestly, I'm so in love with what everybody's done and so proud of it, and I just feel like it's very special and very different. And I think that to go on that journey and to look at these characters in a way that is a comment on who we are, and then to go on that journey, and then to me, the through line of that, really the parameters that we were talking about with Lauren, I was like, well, okay, so we have to find this way. One spoiler, I suppose, for the movie is because of the shape Colin is intended to be in the next story, which we're working very hard on. I'm very excited to shoot next year. But I think for me, I just think that the show is so surprising in so many ways, and Lauren came in, and I mean, the thing is, there are things I can't talk about because you're going to experience it when you watch it. But she came in and she talked about that first episode, and that is what that first episode is. But she talked about where things would end up in terms of getting it to where, the trajectory of what we needed for where he would be, that's about plot. Where she was taking the characters. That is exactly what was nailed. The end of this series, I mean, you're telling me something where you can't tell me anything about it, but I can tell you that the end of the series, I think, is quite remarkable. And that is a testament to these guys here and to Lauren, and it's very, very special. So I'm excited for people to go on the journey.
What I've seen so far is epic in every way. Congratulations, guys. Mark your calendar, September 19th, The Penguin on HBO. Give it up for this